Were you surprised that he chose to leave Rangers when he left?
Yes and no. I mean, things are still tight at Rangers financially. You know, they're still getting themselves back onto an even keel. Villa are a big job. You know, I can remember going to Villa 5 years ago with my son, who was mad for the football, and it was a Friday night game, Man United, and I walked into the stadium and I said to my son, "What do you think?" He said, "Dad, this is a big football club." Villa oozes a big football club. From the stadium, second biggest city in the UK, it should be a big football club.
We'll get on to Villa specifically in a second. Simon, I know you've got your views on Gerrard and the direction in which he may end up going. But specifically on Tyrone Mings, if you were Steven Gerrard, would you have done what Gerrard has done? Had doubts with him or as a captain, and decided, no, you don't have the armband anymore, I'm giving it to John McGinn. And then post-match, after they lose to Bournemouth at the weekend, Gerrard says, I'm confident and have full belief that when Tyrone is back at his best and looks me in the eye and shows me he's ready to play, he'll get opportunities.
Yeah,
that sounds a bit like you.
That's an interesting quote, isn't it? I mean, there's something about him he doesn't fancy. He's done something in his short time he's worked with him, he doesn't fancy him. And Stephen is a diplomat. He's learned that side of the game very quickly. You saw that in Glasgow and you've seen it in Birmingham now. He's learned to be a diplomat. He's unhappy with him. There's something in Tyrone Mings' make-up he doesn't fancy. As simple as that. Now, whether that extends beyond the playing field, the way he is around the place, there's some. I get on Making McGinn. I'm a fan of McGinn. I think he's a warrior. Not short of quality either, but a warrior.
If you had doubts, would you do the same thing?
100%.
With Mings?
100%. But there's something, you know, he's dressed that up and it looks a very civilised.
It's quite disparaging when he looks me in the eye.
When he looks me in the eye, yeah. It borders on basically saying, I don't fancy you.
You're not a man. I mean, the statement that Mings came out was like a neutered dog, wasn't it? When he turned around and said, I accept the fact that you made the captain somewhere else, so I'm fully behind John McGinn.
Angry as hell.
Yeah.
You'd be, you know,
well,
Alan had it in reverse when I was made captain, but I mean, I'm not sure how I'd react to.
Is Mings good enough though for what Steven Gerrard? I mean, you would think Gerrard being parachuted in there to go.
Defender. I mean, yeah. He's a good Premier League player.
There's a butt coming here.
Yeah, I listen to the way he speaks. I look at his body language on the pitch. I'd be having words with him if I was his manager.
Why? It's just something's not right with him having the armband.
Well, obviously we're not privy to how he is around the place. We're not privy to the way he speaks to other players, or indeed speaks to the coaching staff, or speaks to the girl who does the laundry, and if it is a lady that does the laundry at the Villa. But there's something about him that the manager doesn't fancy, and that's the manager's prerogative. And what you have to say is, it's all right leaving players out, but you have to win games in doing so. You know, you can bet. Yeah. See, let me tell you, if we've got a second, let me tell you how a dressing room works. As a manager, you walk into a dressing room, you're a player, Jim, I'm after you, I'm digging you out. There's 25 players in that dressing room listening to it. You sit there, you look at me, but you don't say a word. And when I walk out that dressing room, you say to Simon, who's your best mate, I'm not having that with him. And then Simon's got a best mate, and it's a chain reaction. By the time they've had their shower and they're in their new Bentley in the car park and they're driving out, they spoke to their agents.
Yeah.
Me as the manager are on sticky ground. I've fallen out with half a dozen of you that collectively might be worth 150 million quid. And then one of the agents leaks a story, you know, he's fallen out with the dressing room. The dressing room are not having him anymore. That's leaked to the press. Chairman, chief exec reads that. You're then on a sticky wicket. They've withdrawn their services.
So, Graeme, this is exactly what you're alluding to. And this is what you get in talkSPORT. Immediate reaction. I'm looking at the messages. There's one, a Villa fan. Season ticket holder. 5 games left to save his job at Villa. He's talking about Gerrard. Mings should be starting. We lack leadership and organisation on Saturday. McGinn and Coutinho look way off it. We finally have a good squad, but I doubt the manager big time.
Yeah, there's again, that's the supporter who goes to every game. He's not privy to what goes on, what he's not seeing, like the way he is with other people, like the way he is with other staff, like the way he He lives his life. I'm throwing this out. I know nothing about Tyrone Mings, but there's something fundamentally wrong with the relationship with the manager. The manager's seeing something in him that he doesn't fancy. But that's what a manager does. Manager walks into a dressing room, you quickly form opinions, and then you decide, he's not for me. He might be for me. I'll keep an eye on him. And right now, Tyrone Mings was out of favour. Tyrone Mings has to have a look at himself in the mirror, not be working behind the manager's back. Buckle down. You talk about men and characters, and this is time for Tyrone Mings to look at himself.
An interesting statement from Conte the other day, which talks about what a manager should be thinking. Players have got to make me happy, not the other way around. And that's the dynamic that needs to be, focused on people's minds.
Got a sink, Simon. That's gone the other way. That's been allowed to creep into our game.
So Aston Villa, Simon,
I don't think
European ambition.
I don't think Mings is good enough. I think he's a flat track bully. I think when you get someone up against him that's prepared to put it about a little bit, Mings doesn't look a fraction of the player that he thinks he is. And I'm not surprised that Stephen has marginalised him. I don't think he thinks he can rely on him. He's taken the captaincy away from him.
That's the word.
Right?
Rely.
And that's the big thing for managers. They need to know that who's in that dressing room that they can rely on. It's like the 4-4-2 rule, isn't it? 4 of the players will be with you, 4 of the players will sit on the fence, and 2 will be against you, right? And you've got to get the 4 that are sitting on the fence to come with you. So you've got 6 or 7 of the players, and you know where you are.
Do you worry for Gerrard?
I don't worry for him because he's a big boy. He took on a big job. I do think that there's jeopardy for him this season. There is a decline in that side. Their performance against Bournemouth, irrespective
After
of
90 minutes, Simon.
But I think if you look at the back end of last season, look at the currency that he's trading on, which is the last 12 or 15 games.
2 wins in 12, Graeme. If you carry it over from last season,
they were abject against Bournemouth.
You become vulnerable when you spend big money. As a manager, you spend money, expectation.
Or you become accountable.
Yeah, they're your choices. You spend money. Things don't go well. The whispers start.
So, what's your gut instinct? Will it work for Gerrard at Villa, Graeme?
I hope it does. I don't.
So do I.
Profess to know him. I think he's a good man.
Oh yeah.
It's his second big job. The first one he had was a big job as well, and he'll be fully aware of how the game works. He knows what he has to do and what he has to get right.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.